thank you guys for joining. Hopefully, this will be a stress-free part of your day. My name is Dana Rogers. I'm the Chapter Services Manager here at AGA National, in case you're new and joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about citizen-centric reports, and specifically for our chapters here and why we think they're important. So before we get started, as usual, just want to let you guys know that this session is going to be recorded, and the recording, as well as any materials or links that are shared, will be sent out after the webinar today. And a little disclosure is that AI tools may be used throughout these webinar series to support content, discussion, etc. So if at any point today you have any questions or comments, please feel free to use the raise your hand icon or type in the chat. We'd love to hear any feedback that you guys have. All right, so the countdown continues. We are 54 days away from LEAD, and it is approaching quickly. Can't wait, very excited here at AGA. Quick thing, just want to note, if you have not booked your travel or completed the travel and hotel accommodation form, please do so as soon as possible. We want to make sure that you guys have a hotel room there for you. All right. Okay. And just as last time, remember at the end of each session, I asked if LEAD attendees could submit either a challenge or question that they have. So last week, or after our last session, here were our top areas of respondents. We have Area 6, Area 5, and Area 8. We had the most responses from those areas. So great job. Thank you for sharing your insights and feedback. It is very, very helpful to us at AGA to know how you guys can feel supported or what challenges that you might be facing and thinking of new ways to support you. All right, so today our focus is understanding how a citizen-centric report tells your chapter's story. CCRs, same thing as citizen-centric report, is very important to us here at AGA National. We believe that all of our chapters should be completing a citizen-centric report because it tells your story in a very unique way. So we're going to kind of go over what a CCR is today and why we think it's important. So I'm going to pass it over at this time to John Staley, our Director of Intergovernmental Partnerships.
Well, thanks, Dana, and great to see everybody today. You know, CCRs, if you haven't heard me talk about them, you're going to hear it today. There's a members-only webinar tomorrow. I was facilitating a session this morning with nonprofits on CCRs, so I am all about the storytelling. And you might be like, why am I so excited about telling stories? Well, it's really simple from my perspective. We know today we bombarded with information. That little thing in your pocket, your phone, your kids pinging you, Instagram, TikTok, whatever is out there is hitting your brain every day with lots of data. And some of it might be true, some of it might not be true, some of it might be useful, some of it might not be useful. But if we as leaders don't take the time to tell our story, AI certainly will make it up for us. And what we know is taking the time to reflect and tell your story helps ensure that it meets your audience. Your audience might be a variety of places. It might be in print. It might be digital. It might be something that people are searching through a chat bot, or maybe they're searching online for. It might be people who know what accounting is and people who have never taken accounting in their lives. It's a great opportunity for you to pause and tell your story. And I come at this as someone who has done one. And so the next slide shows you, this is one we actually did when I was a council member in the city of Fairfax. This is our citizen-centric report. So I can tell you, I have been there. I have done that. We have sent this report out to every household in the city of Fairfax, and I know what it's like to build one. And I will tell you, it is worth every minute to take the time to tell your story. So today is about talking about what makes up a good CCR, how to create one, how to start one. And it's also a chance to get you ready for LEAD, because we are going to be talking about CCRs the entire time we're at LEAD. You're going to hear me talk about it. You're going to hear Dana talk about it. We're going to be highlighting it in different of the areas because what we know today is telling our story is more important than ever. If we believe about advancing government accountability, if we believe in trust in government, we must take the moment to stand up and say, this is why I'm a member of AGA. This is why we think this community is worthwhile. You are all giving up your precious time today to be on this webinar, to learn about it. So we want to lean into the spirit of community and say, this is what we're standing for. This is who we are, and this is why it matters. So having been there, having done that, having mailed one out, I want to jump into the anatomy of what makes a great CCR so we can set the stage for our future conversations. This is your rubric. Remember, a citizen-centric report is 4 pages. You may not have a page 5. Page 1, mission, vision, goals, who you are as a chapter. Page 2, what did you do this past year? What are those performance results in those key areas? What does it look like over time? Page 3, what did it cost to do? And how'd you bring in the money to do it? And page 4, what is on the horizon for what you're looking for? This is the rubric. This is what we want you to fill out. We are not trying to hide the ball on you. We are not trying to make it more complicated. We know from having had multiple conversations that framing the story in this way works. It works to help orient people into how they can experience your chapter. It helps orient people to understand the complexities and the interrelationships between the pages. And quite frankly, if you can't share your story over a morning cup of coffee, it's really hard to recruit someone to be a new member. So this is the anatomy of a CCR. This is what we're looking for. And this is how we share our information. So we're going to give you highlights of each page in just a second, but I want everyone to take a minute, breathe, lean into this space. We're all going to do this together. And we're going to start that process right now. So let's take a look at these pages. On page 1, here is a great example of who we are. This happens to be the Atlanta chapter 1 that we're flying into, showing in there. You can see that what are you doing, some information about your demographic data, that mission and vision, your strategic space that you want to highlight in. This is something that as we think about the role a CCR plays, it is not your strategic plan. It is, in fact, your annual operating report. The idea is this is what you'd pull off the shelf and see how you did each year. It's your yearbook. It's what you did. So don't try and put everything under the sun into who we are on page 1. In fact, be thinking about what do I want to highlight about us this year around who we are, that I would be talking with future members over a cup of coffee about what we are as a chapter, what we're like, what we're trying to do. Your mission, your vision, your leadership on this page gives you this place to invite people into your chapter to see themselves in those future leadership perspectives. This is something that you should be able to write right now because you are a leader in your chapter. You should know this information. It's not a test. It's part of what you do day to day. And so being confident in your numbers, confident of who you are, confident in your vision of why you're a part of this organization is what we want you to be. And that's what that page 1 is all about. Let's jump to page 2. This is the how we're doing page. Things that matter that are taking progress to wherever you're trying to take your chapter. It's both financial outcomes and community impact. It's about information over time or a trend. It's inviting people in to say, this is what we did this past year. This page 2 is going to be your assignment for the next several preparations, 54 days to lead, because the first thing you're going to do when you're in person with your areas at LEAD is talk about your page 2 of your citizen-centric report. You make sure that the AI will in here and that the recording captures this. When you get to LEAD, you are going to be asked about your page 2 of your citizen-centric report. We are giving you 54 days to be prepared for that homework assignment. We do not want you to show up at LEAD day 1 and be surprised that we are going to be talking about page 2 of our citizen-centric report. because we want your chapter to be ready to talk about your page two right away. Part of the reason for this is you're almost done with your year. Your years are going to end here very soon as you transition in leadership. And so you, as the leaders, need to know what you have done over the past year. And in most of your cases, that year is July 1 to June 30th. So you have done a lot of stuff already for page two. And this is your moment to get ready to tell that story. Let's jump to page three. Page three is all about the finances. What did you come in and where did it go? We like links to any type of independent audit or review that you've got at the bottom of the page. And this is something we want to lean into because it takes money to run organizations. We don't want to shy away from that. We want to put out there and say, this is how we're doing over time. Here is where we're at. Here's where your membership dues are going to. This is what we're getting for the results that we're framing up. And remember, page 2 and 3 sit side by side in the report. So it is your placemat of what'd you do and what were the expenditures around it. Again, this is for your fiscal year. So when you're coming into LEAD and you're getting ready for it, you will have already expended the funds for this fiscal year that you're going to be reporting on. So you should have an understanding of this. You should be able to look back and say, what did we spend last year? Because as you plan for your next year, you're already hitting the ground running for what did we do last year and how does it inform the next year coming forward. So that's page 3. And now let's jump to page 4. This is the what's next section. This is that call for feedback from your members. Where are you headed? What challenges may be out there? And the planned initiatives that you're ready to move forward on or improvements you want to make. Here's the secret of page 4. Page 4 becomes page 2 the next year. And because you're starting this in a year where your leadership role is about to take place, you have a chance to frame out what it is that you are doing. This is your planned set of actions that you're going to be taking. It's okay if you've already got some in the hopper planned. Take advantage. Say, yes, we did these things already. We're ready to go. You're 6 months in. You know what's happening already in your chapter and in that particular storytelling. So that's the components of the CCR themselves that we want to really talk about and lean into. And for LEAD, we'll be starting with that page 2. So Dana, we can jump to the next slide and talk a little bit about elements of success. We are going to be focusing on simple, clear messaging. You can't say everything that you've done in 4 pages. And so it's okay to leave some things on the cutting room floor. We learned that when we worked on the City of Fairfax's CCR. There are pieces of it that didn't make the cut. That doesn't mean they aren't important. It just means they didn't rise to that space of something we wanted to highlight for every community member to look at. We want to be considering about the readability and the accessibility, the format, how you want it to appear online and in print, the value of codes on there or links that take people to join as members or to learn more about your web page or to highlight maybe another document that you've done. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure this is an engaging and attractive document that you can hand out as that recruiting tool. Ready to lean in and begin working on it together. So let me hand it back to Dana to talk about what we're going to do in our breakouts here today.
Thank you, John. All right. So when working on a citizen-centric report, we don't want you to start with design, right? Start with the content. That's the most important thing. So kind of like what John was saying, we want you to begin gathering what are some key messages that you have, pulling together some data, thinking about highlights that your chapter has done. And then later on, we'll talk about formatting in our next session, actually. So for today's breakout activity, we're going to start brainstorming, right? What are stories or accomplishments that are important enough to write or put into your chapter CCR? So like John said, not everything can fit in there. So you really want to think, what is most important? What's going to be impactful to the people that are reading your CCR? So In our breakouts today, you're going to discuss with your group page 2. So, like John said, we're going to be reviewing page 2 and 4 at LEAD. So, here is a great time to start brainstorming that information and have that homework done already, right? We want you to start talking about or thinking about what are accomplishments that your chapter should document. And like he said as well, if you have used or if you created, sorry, a CCR last year, open that up. Look at page 4 of your last year's CCR and look and say to yourself, what are 2 things that you wrote down on page 4 that you think that you've accomplished? Right? You said you were going to do it last year. Did you? And if so, those would be great things to put on your page 2. And then we also want you to consider what impact those things had on your members or on the community, or maybe even both. Now, if you're someone who's like, my chapter did not make a CCR last year, that's quite all right. Like John said, there are 2 things that you've already done that are accomplishments. Sometimes we really just need to, dig down deep and really sit down and give ourselves time to think about it. So right now in our breakout groups today, we're really going to be focusing on page 2. Anything I missed there from our AGA staff? All right.
Did you say we have homework before lead?
Yes, we did. So, do you have any? Okay, so when you come to lead, we are expecting that you are going to have pages 2 and 4. Now, let me clarify that, right? We are not expecting you to have a design or, colorful copy or anything like that. What we want is content. We want you to come in with the content that you'll be using. That way you can talk with others and brainstorm, right? Maybe about what the design look like, maybe about the types of things that you're putting on and sharing ideas and things like that. So page right now, it's a really good time to just kind of brainstorm and learn from other chapters of things that they're doing. Maybe that will spark some ideas. So great comment, Meredith. All right. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? All right. So our area directors are unfortunately they're in another meeting today, but we are still going to break out by area. So if you don't know what area you're in by this point, take a look at this screen. All right. Figure out which area that you are in so that when we start our breakout groups, you'll know where to go. Okay, you're going to move yourselves accordingly, just like the last 2 sessions. I'm going to be leading one of those the breakout groups, excuse me. John will be leading one as well as Meredith. She's going to lead a 3rd breakout group there. Okay, so I hope you had some good discussions in your breakout rooms. And I just wanted to come back and kind of share maybe something that you talked about that you thought would be insightful for the group, something that you wrote down, anything that you'd like to share with the group. So I'll first just open the floor and see, or maybe I'll pass it actually to some AGA staff to give us some insights. So, Meredith, do you have an insight from your group?
Yeah, it was great to hear so many people very transparently saying, I never thought about our CCR before. Somebody else does that. I see it when it's finished. And starting those conversations for maybe people who haven't done a CCR before. What have they accomplished? We heard from one person that this felt really overwhelming until they looked at what goes on each page, and it's like, oh, well, I already know what we did this year. I already know what we're planning to do next year. I already know who we are. This is very accessible.
John, do you have any insights from?
I prepared my team to outbrief themselves, so I'll turn it to Tim or Danielle to share those thoughts there because I wanted to dodge it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to turn my camera on. Yes, I'm from the Greater Richmond chapter. I wanted to share that we've done 8 events this year, and it's been a mix of in-person and virtual events. We're looking for next year to look into doing more hybrid events for our December PDT event. We do collaborate with the 3 other chapters in Virginia. We've also been working with two other local colleges, VCU and Virginia State University, as well as with young professionals. We're going to be working with the New Mexico chapter. And also within our group, I did offer the invitation. We have some of the other chapters that are really trying to get started. So I offered assistance from the Greater Richmond chapter.
Just also want to put a little blurb in there that we as Greater Richmond do a joint CGFM study group together with Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia chapter. So we just want to let you guys know that is one other way that we promote and help our chapter members who are studying and hopefully get others interested in becoming CGFM certified.
Delphine, if I may piggyback on, you mentioned CGFM, I'm proud that we were able to get a proclamation from the city of Richmond this year.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. That's excuse me, a really great accomplishment. So congratulations, first of all. And I think that's a really great thing to put in your page too. You should be very proud of yourselves. All right. All right. I was gonna see, but I think Patrick might have had to step out. So I know that one thing that we talked about in our breakout group was a little bit of how do we come together to get the CCR information. So I know that the Boston chapter said that they usually have a meeting each year to talk about what their goals are, what are the things that they achieved the previous year, and then they kind of pass that information along to the person who creates the CCR. So their chapter is definitely collaborating each year on some of the goals. Also, Michael from the MOV chapter shared with us that they use their strategic plans and goals document that they submit for ACE, and they use that to really help them shape page 2, which I thought was a great idea. So that's the feedback we had from our group. Well, awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. Any last minutes? Anyone else want to share anything before I move forward? Oh, all right. AC went off. I can hear. All right. All righty. Well, thank you. So, as John mentioned earlier, if you want to learn a little bit more about citizen-centric reports, we do have a free members-only webinar, 1.5 CPEs, and it is telling the story of impact. So, learning how to simplify complex information, highlighting your outcomes, and sharing your impact with your communities. So that's going to be tomorrow from 2 to 3:15. It is free for our members, which all of you are members, unless you haven't renewed. And if that's the case, you should. Little plug for that. So that'd be a great thing to join. Just throw that.
And Dana, maybe before you jump off that slide, just a quick note. I mean, part of what we're going to talk about tomorrow is a bit of the art of storytelling and some of the opportunities that exist on telling your story. So if you've ever been curious about how to think about storytelling, ideas that are there, we'll share a bunch of how they connect different places. I heard at least one group talk about, getting a proclamation from a city, ways cities can do this, ways departments within cities can do this. If you happen to be part maybe of a nonprofit or maybe a parent-teacher organization or maybe a faith-based organization or a community-based organization, those are all groups that telling stories with data are really important. And we'll be covering all of that off tomorrow and providing some neat opportunities to talk about grants and why having this ready actually helps you to apply for grants because you've really thought about your story in a holistic way and are able to give that better elevator pitch. So there is a method behind the madness, and welcome to share.
Awesome.
And I'm gonna, sorry, Dana, I'm gonna jump in as well. If you all like to hear from John, John and one other speaker for 75 minutes means you're probably getting at least 35 minutes of John's energy. So if that's not plug in itself, hope to see you tomorrow afternoon.
Agreed. That's a great point there, man. Thank you. Awesome. All right, and I will make sure that link is in the follow-up email as well. Oops, went too fast. All right, so before our next session, I know there's a lot of things happening here. We want for you to talk with your chapter about your accomplishments and future goals. So if today you did not leave your breakout group with 1 to 2 accomplishments you want to document on your page 2, you need to do that before our next session. Okay. Then I also want you to start thinking about a challenge, a goal, or priority for the next program year. Page 4. So looking ahead. And lastly, the same homework assignment as always is I would like you to submit a new question, challenge, or idea, but this time let's relate it to your CCR. So the question should only take you, I promise, less than 5 minutes. It's really, really helpful for us to see what you guys need and provide you support. So please make sure you submit that and make sure you come with these different ideas for your CCR because like John said, we're doing them this year. All right. And last but not least, our next session is going to be Tuesday, May 26th. It's going to be a part 2 about the citizen-centric reports for focus a little bit more on the design side of things, as well as talk about some of the data or accomplishments that you have for pages 2 and 4.
And Dana, if I could just say, if you are one of the groups that has a committee or has more than one person involved in the CCR, we would welcome them coming on and listening and having this conversation to see how we can best put it together. Part of our theory of the case is that everyone in your chapter should know what you've done the past year in your CCR. And so if you build it in a different way or use a bespoke way of doing it, we want to hear about it and make sure those people are at the table as we're talking because they may have some really good ideas. So Dana, it's a webinar. We got availability here. We want good insight coming in. And we want you, whenever you're representing your chapter at LEAD, to feel armed in understanding how this report is made and feel like you can share what goes on there. So that's really a good insight we learned today and would welcome that connectivity as we're going forward.
Don't have said it better myself. All right. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap things up as long as you guys don't have any questions. We're done a little early today, but thank you all for participating. And if you have any questions, you know where to reach me. But you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.